The government are looking for soft targets, and they're looking to try and get money where they think there'll be as little pushback as possible, and also where there'll be limited public support. Because let's face it, a lot of farmers, they're driving about in a Range Rover. The fact that it's a tax dodge or whatever, the perception and the reality are two different things.
Mm-hmm.
Most farms are generational. They're passed on grandparent to father to son and so forth. So all these changes will have a huge detrimental effect on them. And even more so, they'll have to put their costs up. So then the shops will have to put their costs up. And then on top of that reason for putting the costs up in the shops, the national insurance hike for staff will further drive a price rise. So this has been ill-conceived and poorly delivered.
So I genuinely think, mate, they're doing this purely for their whole net zero agenda target.
Right.
I think they want the land, the farming land, for, like we were talking about in the group chat earlier, the wind stopped. I think they want it for wind turbines, and I think there's a pushback from farmers that don't want them. I think they want it to put solar panels on the land, and there's pushback from the farmers. There's no other reason that I can think of why they went after farmers.
But I mean, we don't need to take the farmland. There's so much non-arable land that they could make into wind power or solar power and stuff like that. What do you think about that, Brian? Do you think it could have a hidden agenda?
Ironically, well, there'll be a lot of facets to this. Farms used to get lots of subsidies for the European Union. When that stopped, the UK had to take up the slack and further subsidise as and when required. Which I don't have a great problem with, because we all need farms, we all need farm produce. And it's ironic, if they're needing that land, which I don't believe, for solar farms and all the rest of it, farmers who have went down the route of large-scale solar generation, they get slated. They get slated something rotten. In Scotland, they're doing a big battery storage plan for capturing and storing the wind when it's there, so they can use it for a later date. There's now been an almighty kick-up about how these huge carbuncles are going to be blotting the landscape. It's the same bollocks all the time. We want the lights to go on, but don't know where it comes from and don't care.
Yeah, the magic energy tree is replacing Labour's magic money tree. More extreme groups, they're saying, but I don't know what the hell an extreme farmer is. I just had visions of like Tony Hawk's on a tractor. But they're saying basically they won't take the sewage and slurry and spread it on the fields. And do you want to explain why that's significant, Brian? Because it's water supply related, right?
It is. So in case people don't know how the system works, so the wet side of it will be separated and the solids, not a pleasant subject after dinner, I know, but the solids of the human waste are tankered hundreds of thousands of litres per year, and it's got to go somewhere. So where it actually goes is the farmers take it as slurry and spray it all over the farm, over the fields to help the crops grow. Now, if they decide we're not taking that anymore, your sewage system will grind to halt overnight. It's got to go somewhere. So you then might be faced with large-scale discharges into the water because it's got to go somewhere. So that would very much be the nuclear option.
Last time when the panic buy was going on, it was horrendous there, and it just had all the echoes then that was on today. 100% though, mate. If anything like this happens, or there's an inkling of it happening, 100% there'll be panic buying. Look at what happened with the toilet roll.
Do you think they saw it coming, some of these?
Land that I can see in Scotland at the moment, because I've still been looking for a small plot, not for building on, but even a bit of woodland, 4 or 5 acres is 40, 50 grand. I've not noticed it coming down. Although farms, small farms, you could get one in Ayrshire. The last one I saw, 370 for about 80 acres, and a small rundown farm and some outbuildings. So it's the price of an average 3-bed semi in a good area.
There you go. And that price is only going to come down if people are selling up. The thing is, is tenant farmers are going to suffer, I think, more than the landowners, right? Because often, like somebody mentioned in the chat, these landowners have just bought it for the sake of it, and they live in some high rise in London or New York or somewhere else. How are the tenant farmers supposed to survive when subsidies are dropping by 76%? Surely they're just going to say, "No, sod this, I'll go and work in McDonald's because they've jacked minimum wage up, so I can get more flipping burgers than I can flipping cows." Not that you flip cows. I know nothing about farming, as you can tell. But oh, that cow's done. Turn him over. But
Must be some size of spatula.
They're just going to drop off, right? We're just going to end up with so much less produce. Is that not what's just going to happen? We're just going to lose. They're going to. How many people are willing to strike and put up with that, and how many are just going to say, "Sod this, it's not worth it"?
It's the UK all over, though. When the milk problem with the dairy farmers was a thing not that long ago, dairy farmers were being squeezed. They could only sell their milk to large conglomerates who then sold it to the supermarkets.
Yeah.
And the prices had been driven so low, they were barely making anything enough to cover their costs for the dairy farms. So the dairy farms were going to the wall. That's actually what preempted a lot of them to go into for large-scale solar. They couldn't make any money at the dairy farms.
It's just like you said, mate. It's just not tenable for them for the amount of hours they put in and the financial reward and gain you get. It 100%, mate. It's a final nail in the coffin. This farmers, and it's just not tenable.
60% of what's on our plate, on average, is from the UK. 40% on average is imported. If all the farms go, how's the food supply going to be affected? Let's ignore the fact that they might protest and block the ports, and we'll have a shortage and panic buying and idiots stocking up on fresh food that they can't store, and pasta going out of sale within 2 seconds.
Just like the big C again.
Yeah, let's just ignore that whole situation that we've seen happen, and the long-term effects of no farming in the UK. We're becoming less of an island nation. We're about as self-sufficient as, a cabbage.
We are not self-sufficient in anything, whether it be our own power or energy needs or for food. We are not. Even if you go back to the Second World War, if the convoys had been stopped, Britain would essentially have been starving to death. And that was with a lower population, and that was with people having allotments and farming in their own back garden and growing things. We were dependent on food convoys as well. Can you imagine now, with the population we've got?
It feels North Korean-ish that we're going to be queuing up for a potato and we can have only ration. We're going to have to ration, right? Well, how the hell is it going to work?
Yeah, 100%. You're going to have to ration. I mean, I can remember, mate, when we did, when like Brian just said there, when the Big C was on at work, if somebody new moves in, we give them like so what I'm looking for, like a hamper, like a food hamper. Because 9 times out of 10, obviously the homeless. And I can remember we went to a big Tesco up near where I live. And usually, mate, we'll buy bulk, but maybe we'll buy like 10 of everything. So you've got 10 hampers ready to go. And I can remember going there, mate, during the Big C, and we were limited to 3, to 3 of every item. And if you think that, and that was when nothing was blocked, and no pots were being blocked.
Well, there was no negotiation with them saying, "Listen, we're doing it for this reason. Can we not buy more?"
They weren't having any of it, mate. There was no discussion on it. Like, so I went in, spoke the store manager, and he was like, "Nah, regardless of what your reasoning is, you're gonna have to bring rationing in. That's the only way around it, mate, is rationing." I don't know how that would go down with the public.
How are they going to handle it? Because we're jailing people for social media posts and for attacking a Tesco bin, Greg's window. So what are they going to do? How will the government respond to these go slow protests or the blockades if they do it at the ports? Is it going to be arresting galore?
I think he will. He's already proven that he'll go in with the boot, and he's done it early doors. When there was any civil disorder at the start, he released all the senders and beaten everybody else, and then he locked up people that were throwing fireworks for 2 years, or if you were there. So, whilst I understand to an extent the rationale, the heavy-handed approach to try and get it under control, it was a bit OTT in places. Farmers in general, don't tend to flip out. Trespassing on their land, anything you've done wrong or amiss, they generally act first and look at the consequences later. They don't piss about. That's why I think this could be quite serious.